We are actually waiting on one more panelist, but in the essence of time, we decided to move forward, and we'll have her join us in a bit. So I am Desiree Rollins, and I'm on the Planning Committee, and I am going to introduce our illustrious gaming panel. This panel is titled Pushing the Boundaries, Video Games in Hollywood. And Guy Primus is the moderator for the panel, and Guy is the co-founder and managing director of Tentpole Ventures, a seed stage technology investment fund that focuses on consumer lifestyle companies. Prior to forming Tentpole Ventures, Guy served as Chief Operating Officer at Overbrook Entertainment, the film, television, and transmedia production company, founded by producer James Lasseter and actor and producer Will Smith. He oversaw operations, managed the company staff, and the strategic ventures. Before Overbrook, Guy was the director of digital media at Starbucks Entertainment, and in that role, he was responsible for setting the strategic direction of Starbucks' digital entertainment initiatives, including negotiating and product planning for the Starbucks groundbreaking deal with Apple. Guy also has many, many talents. So he also worked with Microsoft and worked in their marketing and revenue advertising group. And before that, worked at Bad Boy Entertainment, where he served as vice president of strategy and planning for Blue Flame, the marketing and advertising agency founded by Sean Diddy Combs. Guy serves on the board of Social Hush, the social media platform that helps users prevent posting under influence, and on the advisory board of Jib Jab Media, a leading provider of digital greeting cards. I'm sure many of you have gotten those singing elves. And MoviePass, we had one of the founders of MoviePass just on our last panel. And also Fly, a company that is building mobile syncing solutions for media files. Guy's passion for technology and entertainment has resulted in experiences that range from being a patent inventor to serving as an AR executive for Universal Music and Recording. Guy earned his bachelor's degree and master's degree in industrial engineering from Georgia Tech, his MBA from Harvard Business School, and Guy is married to his lovely wife Heather, has a son Grant, and their daughter Clark, and he resides here in Los Angeles. Please welcome Guy.
I didn't write that lovely part, although my wife is very lovely. She'd be very pleased to hear that you wrote that. So, well, let me first start off by saying I'm an OG, and I don't get to say that often, but I'm an original gamer, right? So I started with Pong, way back in the day. When you had the switch on the back of the TV, and you had to kind of switch it between game and TV, and it had Mattel football. Couldn't pass on it. You could just run with the LED kind of lights. So that's where I started in gaming. And then, got to high school and I had to put it down for a while, right? Because I have an OCD, so I'll just admit that. So I became a little bit obsessed and recently picked up gaming when my son started playing video games. So he plays now Lego Batman. So he's a big gaming fan. But it's good to be home, I'll say that. So, but let me introduce some of our panelists up here. Rochelle, why don't you kind of tell us who you are, what you do, and why you're here?
Sure. My name is Rochelle Webb. I'm the Global Director of Media and Branded Entertainment at Activision, overseeing Call of Duty worldwide. So basically that entails setting the strategy for the brand, making sure that it's implemented regionally and locally against all of our brand values. I also work with our executive team to ensure that any sort of new business opportunities or business development opportunities that come through the door that are evolved against our brand values as well. I also manage all the major sponsorships that we do, any major partnerships. So we have a large partnership with Microsoft, has been a partner of ours for several years now. So I oversee that relationship and developing that and ensuring that our brands work well and in cohesion as we go to market. And finally, I oversee the branded entertainment capacity in which I work with third parties, movies, commercials, and helping them understand how we want to be incorporated into whatever specific project it might be that they are looking to license our branding for. Or I might seek out certain content integrations or content plays that help evangelize our brand in the right way so that Call of Duty really breathes and you feel the authenticity of our brand. So it's a pretty mild job. I'm not very busy, but it's a lot of fun. So just based down here in Santa Monica, so I'm local to LA.
Cool, and I wanted to make sure to sit between Tiffany and Rochelle here. You know, they're
All
like
love.
kind of, Tiffany, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Tiffany Everett. Actually, I came full circle after graduating from USC, fight on, Annenberg School of Communication. My first job out of college was at Activision, so I've come full circle. Now I'm at Electronic Arts, and I oversee all social marketing strategies for our mobile products. And our office is in LA and Playa Vista. In addition, I am also leading the charge around our celebrity and online influencer partnerships, so I work in that capacity.
Very cool. And last, but well, actually, we won't be last. Hopefully, Betty will show up. But you know, right now we have Andre Farr.
Absolutely.
Andre.
Well, I'm pleased to be here. I'm always great to be in enemy territory.
Getting it from both ends.
The MVP of the 1991 UCLA USC game is here. But no, but seriously, I'm the chairman and CEO of the Black Sports Agents Association. We represent the majority of players in the NFL and the NBA. We have about 874 agents, about 3,700 members. At our peak, we did about $3.52 billion in business. One way that those numbers grew so rapidly was from gaming and digital media. And so I'm here to represent from the sports side. I'm also here to learn a lot from what you guys have to say. So.
Cool. So I'm going to kick it off with Tiffany and Rochelle. You guys are, you know, for those of you that aren't gamers, EA and Activision are the two 800-pound gorillas in the space. So you guys obviously compete with each other. I'm sure you collaborate, you know, at some point, you know, on the industry level. But really, as we're talking about games and Hollywood, would love to hear from you. You know, how is it that you, you know, what do you do with Hollywood specifically, and how do you use that to move the needle in the gaming industry?
Certainly. Hollywood is an important friend of ours at Activision. Our ambassadors and those enthusiasts who live and breathe our brand are the most special people to us. And a lot of that comes from celebrity and sports sort of integrations and personalities and people who are involved in that space. So we really, really, you know, take good care of them and make sure that we stay locked as a close-knit family and working with them. And what they do for us really is they help us really take to our natural inborn audience the values of our brand, but from a voice that's not ours. And that's so important in marketing, especially in a video game capacity. We're constantly trying to sell a product, and it's important that you leverage the people who care about your brand the most to help you tell that story. So they help us tell a story. And some of the big things that we've done in the past, one of them includes last year we worked really closely with ESPN, and we did an integration in their green room, and we took over their entire green room in Bristol and really branded it Call of Duty. We had a build of the game back there. We allowed them to engage with it and embrace it, and we shot them playing this game. And so anyone who was prepping to be on the show got to interact with the game, interact with the build. We started a leaderboard, so there was some natural inborn competition between people who are playing in, you know, versus basketball versus NFL. And so it was a really cool thing to see how they would compete against each other sort of virtually. So that was a really exciting opportunity that we did that sort of spanned across the back half of last year. Something else that we do quite often is we bring them through. This was really kind of a funny thing during the lockouts that we've had. The athletes are like, we have nothing to do. We don't know what to do with ourselves. So we said, well, come play some Call of Duty. And so we allowed them to come by and just sit in the studio with our developers and play the game and get to walk around and kind of see how a game is built and how it's made. And the amount of earned value that we got out of those experiences was just so immense. So they absolutely are kind of the bread and butter and just sort of heart of our company because they're so important to helping us push that message out and attach themselves to our brand.
Cool. Tiffany, and obviously you work a lot on the mobile side.
Yes.
How does it compare, or is it different from, you know, the console strategy?
I think the console strategy, of course, they have larger budgets than mobile, so they can go a little bit bigger, a little bit better. From a mobile perspective, what we're doing is really partnering with two parts, celebrities and leveraging their social channels. So we're getting them to tweet messages out, be integrated in the game, also licensing their music for trailers and in-game opportunities. In addition, we're really exploring the YouTube influencer kind of realm and looking at what that market has to offer. Are you tweeting?
No.
Oh, okay. No, because I was, so feel free to tweet. What we found are the majority of our fans are more receptive to messaging from their peers and YouTube influencers than they are if they get an ad from us. And I think that's pretty much any brand. So we're really trying to get in that space and work with the right people, work with YouTube, leverage their studio. They have a studio here in LA where they work with YouTube influencers and try to make those partnerships and connections.
So that's actually interesting. So we talked about organic media and social media especially. Is that something, do you feel that you're working with the YouTube influencers who people know are core gamers, do you think that makes a difference versus someone who you may be flying in just because of the name?
Right. I think it does, but you have to be very careful because fans are they're very aware of the type of content that these YouTube influencers already produce. If you're following somebody and you know what kind of videos they're putting out, and then all of a sudden they put a video out that says, I'm playing this game, you should play it too. Click on the link, they know this is paid or something's not right. So you have to be really, really careful on how you do that.
Gotcha, cool. So Andre, you're not, obviously, if we look at the missions of the panel,
Right.
Gaming is not in your mission, right?
No, it's not.
Obviously games, like sports,
Games, yeah.
but
Well, gaming has influenced us a great deal because, as she said, I was going to bring that up, and she stole that thunder from me. Had only one good point. And that is during the lockout, not only did it engage our guys, and our guys got really involved with things that they weren't able to during the season, but it also created a great revenue stream that had only been scratched the surface at that point. And right now, it's one of the larger strategies. In fact, gaming is getting close to where our shoe deals once were, because our shoe deals have come down significantly, and digital media has gone up significantly. So
I noticed a lot of people wearing like Chinese shoes now.
Yeah, absolutely. Dwayne Wade actually left Brand Jordan, which is the holy grail of shoe deals, and signed with Li Ning, and that's a huge deal. And it includes, it's almost a 360 deal for him. So it's an amazing deal.
Right, and so if you look at the history of games, obviously franchises like Madden have really driven, console sales for a lot of people like me. You don't want to. It's okay to play sports games. You don't want to be playing, a lot of other things.
It's funny. We were speaking earlier. A lot of fans want to know what the athletes actually play. So they want to know, what does Adrian Peterson actually play? Which game does he actually like? And when you go back and you look when ESPN did a ranking of their top 25 games of all time, some of those games came in based on what the athletes thought of those games, how influential they were. So it's been, this whole, gaming experience for me has just been an eye-opening experience because honestly, I have never been a gamer. I've never played games my entire life. That's outside of football itself. But when you start seeing the numbers and how many people are interested, it really, you really need to get into it.
What really hits home for me is like when you'll be driving up La Cienega and you'll see like the Madden tournament posters, headed up La Cienega.
Absolutely.
It's pretty impressive.
One thing that impressed me is if you go to the Super Bowl, some of the biggest parties are these gaming parties. The Maxim parties in the day used to be the huge parties. Now you'll see, I won't even mention some of the brands because they're competing, but huge parties. So they're putting a lot into it.
You're not the only one that's new to it. My company, the first question is which celebrity, and then the next question is he good?
No scrubs.
Exactly. So.
Well, so if I think about the history of video games, you started off in, like I said, I had Pong and then graduated to Atari 5200, then I had ColecoVision. I won't go into details because it could be a long list. But actually, so what I've seen is the past 5 years, the industry has really transformed. So you have the Apple App Store, and they're driving a lot of casual game sales. And then you have even on the consoles, so you have Xbox Live Arcade, and you have PlayStation Network also driving downloadable game sales. So how does it change the way you guys think about the industry and your strategy, given that you don't have to spend $50 for a game? Tiffany,
Sure. So when you said I'm not, actually, I'd love to kind of take a mini poll here. Raise your hand if you consider yourself to be a gamer. Interesting.
Oh, I feel so much better.
Interesting. Now raise your hand, and this could go either way. Raise your hand if you've played on your mobile device any game. You're a gamer. Welcome. So I will say,
You can get your nerd badge at the door.
you're a gamer. And that was kind of, I was asked that question when I came on board to EA because I don't play console. I don't have an Xbox. I don't play console games. And I played a few games on my mobile device. But they did mention, you're a gamer, you are playing games. And so I think now with the opportunity for people to download games immediately and play anytime, anywhere, which is our slogan for EA Mobile, you can do that and you're considered a gamer. So I think it's opened up the opportunity for people to embrace gaming and play their version of gaming when they want.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I actually have a history working with Apple as well, and the one thing when the iPhone came out, it was said, it's more, the phone is not really actually this device. The phone is actually all the apps that are on the device. And every single one of you that has an iPhone or a Droid or a BlackBerry or whatnot, because of the apps that you have, it makes each one of your phones individually very different. That's the kind of the way that I think of a gaming experience. So when someone sits down to play, this world of sort of microtransactions and things like that has opened up the world of opportunity. And it's just really, as Tiffany just said, the gamer has become a really mass group of individuals. And you have it you have the very, very hardcore to the very casual, but that doesn't mean that there's not crossover and they can't play the same games. And so for us, what we've realized is that we've identified that opportunity, and within all of our downloadable content and our console games and things like that, we've opened up opportunities for things that the gamers can unlock. So different types of weapons that can be skinned a different way, different loadouts, so you can customize how you play. And the game becomes more than just a game, and it becomes a very personal experience because you make it what you want to make it. And it's, in a sort of selfish way, it's a huge revenue stream, as you mentioned. The amount of revenue that's built into gaming, and it's just the amount of effort it takes to just click and spend $1 to get your own weapon means the world to someone who's a hardcore gamer, and all of those microtransactions added up is a whole other stream of revenue that never existed before. So it's really changing the way that we think about gaming and the way that we're evolving the mobile space and the casual space and things like that. So we're a company that traditionally has come from a console approach, and if you just look at our slate and how it's evolved over the past year alone, we've expanded tremendously in that space. So it's a huge opportunity for us.
So how does this translate into opportunities for people who might be interested in getting into gaming?
Oh gosh, so much. I think that if you went into, and our company is a great example of it, I don't know about you, but we were very traditionally structured in the sense that we were a global brand marketing organization 3-4 years ago. Now we have area experts all throughout our company. So you could sit next to 6 different people that do 6 different, completely different things from 6 different streams of expertise that you just wouldn't expect to sit next to at a gaming company. So we have a CRM team, which most people would think of at a grocery store or a CPG company. We actually have that now because we have a rabid audience of individuals who are in a back-end interface that are interfacing with the product every single day. So there's so much information you can gather from that. We have a whole social division, a digital marketing division. We have product marketers. We have business development. We have retail. We have consumer marketing. And we have then obviously our developers, engineers, testers. So there's just so many opportunities. So I would say that when you think about gaming, don't think because I'm not a gamer or because I don't have experience in gaming or I don't do something that relates to the gaming category that I can't go into that industry, because there's probably some niche for you. And for us, we welcome people that actually don't have a gaming background because you bring a vision and a perspective that is fresh and that sort of helps the people who are gamers and have been in the industry for a very long time kind of see things a different way.
I would agree. I think we have pretty much a lot of the same departments. I will say when I was at Activision, I don't even think Facebook was created. So when I was working on Tony Hawk and like a lot of the action sports games, we were really focused on online sweepstakes and print ads. That was like big to be able to get in all the gaming print magazines back then. So it definitely evolves and things change. So I'd encourage people to stay up to date. I mean, Facebook puts out updates every Tuesday. I mean, their platform changes on a weekly basis. And I know everything else in digital changes constantly. So stay up to date on what's going on and what's changing, because there is a way for you to plug in. So I definitely agree.
Cool. And so, Andre, I have a friend who works at Goodwin, sports
yeah,
management.
yep.
He, does his blogging and the whole thing, and obviously he's focused on that. Do you see kind of more, younger people coming up, or are they focused on games the same way that they're focused on, technology?
Absolutely, and to be honest with you, it's a huge business now for all of our sports agents in terms of social networking and getting involved with the games and helping guys develop their brand outside of off the court and off the field. I came up very traditional. I was I was very lucky. I was one of the owners of House of Blues, one of the original owners there. I created this tour called the Smoking Grooves Tour. I made my first $1 million before I was 21. I made my first $10 million before I was 24. But I made it in a way that almost killed myself. You remember those days where we looked crazy, we stayed up all night. Well, one of the things that I think that I missed the boat on are two things. One, when I was getting recruited by Stanford University, I should have invested in those guys who started Google. They were there at the same time. So I'm mad at myself for not even introducing myself, right? The other thing is not investing in gaming. It's one of, like I said, I have two brothers. I'm in middle. Both of my brothers are big gamers. They played everything, Atari, Xbox, all those games. And I never did. But seeing how they were so locked in and we all played sports, I said, I should have thought further and looked into that more. Now, our sports agents, our business managers, our other agents, entertainment agents, are all pushing us towards this. And so that's one thing that I wish I had done earlier, and I think our young guys coming up now are all on it right now. And it's a huge business for anyone who wants to get in the business. Instead of just being a sports agent, you guys probably know right now, if you're trying to enter the sports agent, you have a big competitor in Jay-Z. So some of my sports agents are now considering other. Honestly, they're considering other positions to go into that.
They're scared of Hove?
They're scared of him, man. They're scared of him. Deshaun Jackson is trying to sign with it. A lot of guys are signing. But the reason that they're signing is about branding and about this digital media. That's the whole sell that Hove is putting out to these people. Skylar Diggins signed with Jay-Z 2 days after meeting him. She had been recruited for 2 years from other people, and after 2 days, she signs with him. So it's not just the celebrity anymore. It's about what you can do with my brand, and digital media is one of the best ways to get that brand out there.
Got it. So I think about being at Overbrook, and we tried to do a lot of every one of our properties we were looking at doing console games, and it at some point we even sat down with John Riccatello at EA, and he said, well, we're focused on our own internally developed intellectual property. So I'm just
no longer there, by the way.
yeah, I know. I'm going back in.
Good try to come back.
But is that something that you guys see continuing? Is that or was that a moment in time that like it doesn't matter? We don't want your Spider-Man. We don't want your Avengers. Keep it. We want we want our own IP.
I think from a larger perspective for EA, I think they are continuing to work with other teams. I believe they just signed a deal with Disney and Lucasfilm, so they're doing some stuff there. So there are those opportunities as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now what about you're thinking about like Call of Duty is a big. I mean, people don't realize like Call of Duty has sold. I'm not sure about the numbers. I'm not going to ask you either. But my research suggests that Call of Duty has sold over 100 million units, kind of as a franchise.
Oh, yeah.
And and at an average of $40 a unit, you're talking about a $4 billion franchise, right? So we're not talking small potatoes here.
You know your numbers.
Okay. I are an engineer. So just thinking about that, obviously, really big franchise. Do you see, and I'm not going to ask about Call of Duty, we talked about that, but do you see opportunities to kind of take, those really tentpole video game brands and take them, back over the transom to develop film and television?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and it's something that we've toyed with for a very long time. We're very precious with, as you say, Call of Duty. So it's kind of how someone's going to interpret that on the big screen is a very scary thing to us, because we've spent 10 years, it's our 10-year anniversary, building this brand, and you just never know what's going to happen. But what's really interesting is, and made us think, kind of take a different perspective on it, is there are these fan films out there, and I'm sure you have them for just about every game you guys have, and it's amazing what a fan can do. And I would say, like, that should be your inspiration, your driver for how you can get into something new and different from what you're doing now, if that's what you're looking to do, because it's amazing to see what these people can put together in a dark room in their mom or dad's house in the basement, and just like Operation Kingfish, look it up on YouTube. 3 years ago, they created sort of an inspirational piece based off of our franchise. And this was the most beautifully produced body of work I've ever seen, actually. And it just, the heart of our brand was like all throughout this sort of piece of film they created. And ultimately what ended up happening is we hired them. It was such high quality that we said, come on board. So they've sort of inspired us to start creating, external and sort of ancillary content off of that. And I think that it's forced us to think beyond the boundaries of just keeping our brand within our four walls and start looking to do other things and bigger opportunities that are more in film or TV or whatever it may be. So we've dabbled in some content integrations and things like that. So that's about as far as we've taken it on Call of Duty. But on the license side, we obviously have a satellite office in Minneapolis that does a ton of movie-based games. So we already have experience in that side of it. So it's how do we take brands that haven't made that transition translate into that world?
Gotcha. So talking about video game produced content, we have Betty Tran here from Machinima. And you guys that don't know Machinima, I'm not even gonna, I'll let you talk a little bit about it, but it's amazing to me. A few years ago, like I said, I'm an advisor to Jib Jab, and one of our senior vice presidents for business development left and went to Machinima. And I was like, what's Machinima? What do you think? What are you doing? Why are you leaving? We're a really solid family company. What are you doing? And he goes to Machinima, and then fast forward to a year and a half or so. Machinima is now, and I'm not going to ask you to validate these numbers, but reportedly last year they raised money at a $250 million valuation. So pretty big company based on independently produced video game content. So, and then you guys have translated that into, a multi-platform, multi kind of content platform. So why has video game become so popular that, it's able to kind of translate into a, company that might be worth $500 million?
I would say the audience is definitely really ravenous. So we like to say with the Machinima audience that the audience is immersed in the content. So especially with video games, it's just another way of getting into another world for them. So what they do is they interact with these video game titles, and for them it's just a different world. And it's just like when people say Machinima is rooted in gaming, we are rooted in gaming, but our content kind of transcends just gaming. If you look at the Comic-Con audience, they're into gaming, they're into comics, they're into movies. So our content spans that, and you can see that by the content that we produce. So we do a ton of gameplay videos. Basically, I would say our community and our influencers, they play some of the video games, they talk to their audience about how to play the video games. And then other types of content we license IP addresses like Halo 4, Forward Unto Dawn. So we have a series that we license from Microsoft and we distribute it across our network. So Machinima is definitely a male-oriented, focused video programming network.
Cool. So when Michelle was on the panel a little bit earlier, I remember she worked at Microsoft for 10 years, and I worked at Microsoft for a little bit over a year, and I used to search for black people at Microsoft. It's like I would take circuitous routes through the buildings and everything, but I'm sitting up here on a panel with video games that people think is a male-dominated field, but I'm sitting up here with three women and Andre here, But I'm just wondering, what is it like being a woman in a traditionally male, or people perceive as a male-dominated field?
Well, for me,
I can start. My role, I'm in the PR department, so PR and marketing, so there are a lot of women there. It's where you start to get to the developer side that you see primarily male. EA does a really good job of embracing actually women in gaming. They have a whole women in gaming movement where they try to encourage women in the company to do things together, share ideas, share things that they're doing, come out to events, like make yourself seen because we know you're here and we want to get that message out. I do see it more, so I would say I don't see it as much day to day in the office. I see it more when I go to digital events. E3 is next week, our biggest like video game conference. We'll probably see it there. You know what I mean? It's like, it's gonna be predominantly male.
You guys have like a secret code or, like a little signature?
All women unite by the bathroom. No, but like I said, within the company, not so much. More at events.
It's like having 100 big brothers. Patience is a virtue. No, it's actually really great. I would say that we don't really see men and women. We just see like a lot of very smart people at Activision. I would say more than anything. Certainly, it's male dominated, and I think. If anything, it takes a certain personality, You have to be able to stand on your own. You have to have that confidence to sit in a boardroom and I'm often the only woman, and certainly the only black woman. I'm the only black woman on the entire marketing team. So it is.
Me too.
So it's one of those things where you just have to rely on your smarts and you just like get in there every day, dig into it, and show them what you're made of. And that's what I think to myself every single day when I walk in the office. It's like, I'm not a woman, I'm a smart person that knows how to run this brand globally. But I think that working in a male-dominated world, it's in general, I think that people are starting to gain more of a tolerance of just dealing with lots of different types of people because we have global boundaries and things like that we transcend as well. So it's interesting and it's fun, frankly, and you got to get your game on. These guys are constantly on the console playing, so I just sit down right next to them, get on some MP and rock it out for an afternoon.
They'll let you know if you can't rock it out.
They're not quiet.
No, not at all. Yeah, Machinima, it's pretty diverse, to be honest with you. If you look at the talent pool, it's predominantly male, the ones that are on camera, but we have a lot of women behind the scenes. The marketing team is predominantly female. Some of the developers are female. The content team is female. So I think for us, we kind of, the girls are really strong in the office. Strong personalities, very confident, and that's the most important thing, at least at Machinima. And then I know the entire office is excited about E3. Male, female, doesn't matter, but I would say all the girls play video games though. So that's definitely a plus.
So before the Sandman comes and yanks us off stage, really quick, just do you guys see any? Are there any transcendent figures? Is there a Spike Lee or Robert Rodriguez or Gus Van Sant in the mix at the companies? Are there kind of those Black or Latino or LGBT?
LGBT is gay Pride Month.
Are there those individuals that kind of you can point to and say they're the rock stars of the industry?
I think, gosh, we do have quite a bit of diversity. I will say that across not just sexuality but race as well. So I think that. You definitely do notice that they stand out. I mean, I wouldn't say there's a figurehead per se, but I see certain VPs and SVPs in their division who are really owning it. And
What
you can
about
see
developers?
their rising star.
Any developers?
On the dev side, Mark Lamia, he's a mix. I'm not quite sure what his mix is, but he's a developer for Treyarch who just did Black Ops 2. So he certainly is a kind of a figurehead for diversity on the developer side. And definitely great spirited, so it just helps kind of show people that you can do this. I mean, he's run a very successful developer for a very long time, and they've created our longest standing, most successful franchise of Black Ops 2, so.
Nobody that I can necessarily call out by name. Again, very similar to Activision. I mean, it is diverse on all levels, but there isn't anybody specifically by name that I can think of, at least for the industry.
Like on camera side, anybody that we could kind of tune into?
Yeah, it's interesting.
there's like 8,000 partners within Machinima. If I had to think of a few, a few are overseas, but not anyone that really stands out. It's such a, we have 8,000 partners. It's so diverse. We're in Latin America, we're in Europe, we're all over the place, but Machinima's pretty diverse.
Right. Sounds like opportunity, though.
Lots of
Definitely an
opportunity. I think for us,
opportunity.
less established, we're a YouTube network and we're expanding. We're on Xbox now. We're expanding on multiple devices. So for us, there's a lot of opportunity for growth from within.
Guy, I think the reason why they can't really think of them because they are the rock stars of their businesses. That's probably what's happening.
That's so nice.
I think we're down to just a few minutes, so why don't we take some questions?
Right here.
Thank you. Just following up a little bit about the theme of diversity, and I've just always been curious about this for the gaming industry. I believe statistically, African Americans, Latinos index strongly for playing video games from this data I've seen. So I just was curious in terms of both marketing and from the development standpoint, is any of that diversity or ethnic targeted ever taken into account as you're either marketing a title or developing a title? Just curious.
For me, from a development standpoint, it's really all about the game. So it doesn't really play much of a role there, only with the exception of localization. So we will localize our game for different audiences around the world in the packaging as well, because we want them to really have an authentic experience. If you speak a different language, we want to feel like the game was custom made for you. But to the marketing side of it, absolutely, you hit the nail on the head right there. There's a huge index of Latino and African American audiences built into our audience, so it's a natural place for us to go. We capture a lot of them in the general market, I have to be honest. I mean, we buy a lot of NFL, we buy a lot of NBA and things like that. So we cover that, but what's important, and funny enough, has been something that I've been educating my own company on for quite some time now, is that doesn't mean that you covered it off or checked the box. There's still a gap that needs to be filled, and so I do seek out those custom opportunities that do reach out to an African American audience. Last year was the first year ever that I did a custom-made Latino or Hispanic campaign. So we did a lot of stuff with Univision and Telemundo, and so that was a big deal for us because it just was really important for us to understand how to tap into that audience. And now we're starting to expand that, and I have the retail group coming to me and saying, Rochelle, help me. Help me understand, like, what did you do with that Hispanic campaign? How can I bring that to retail? So it's starting to permeate the organization, and it's been, it was interesting to me because I didn't think it was something I had to educate on until I got in there, and I was like, wow, they really don't know. So it's been good, and it's been great to see that people are taking a hold of it and starting to evangelize that throughout the organization.
Thanks. Kevin McFall. I'd love to see you do more of that. Of course, I've got an African-American property. We'd be happy to help you reach those
What property
audiences.
is that?
Ebony Jet.
Okay.
Yep. Online and in tablet. Sorry, shameless plug.
What are your CPMs?
You need some
What's your
feedback.
Great job, guy. Moderating the
Can you
panel.
beat Machinima? Because I don't know. I get a good deal with them.
That's what I was like.
My question was around in-game advertising and what that landscape looks like today. I saw early on that it was going to be sort of a new frontier for media opportunities, and I sort of lost track of where that is in terms of advertisers and brands placing themselves within the games, of course, through partnerships with your companies. What does that landscape look like today, or what is the future of that?
I could say for mobile, we have opportunities that may be a little bit different from console. For example, in our mobile games, we have offer walls where we do partnerships where brands can come in and for a certain amount of money, they'll be seen in an offer wall. And for people to be able to advance in a game, they need to do something that connects with a brand. So maybe like another brand's Facebook page or do some kind of integration. So there is that. We recently have made the announcement at EA for Mobile that we've switched over to a more freemium model where our mobile games are free. So you can, moving forward, so you can download them and play, and then there's that push for you to make purchase in the game. So that makes it different from getting a free game and constantly seeing ads as well.
Yeah, for us, it's just, we are very, we pick and choose what we integrate in our game, so we seek it out, and we don't just throw a lot of integrations within the game. So, but we are kind of looking at that model of unlocking different things, and that's how we started to dip into the microtrans area and started to evolve that. But in terms of actual branding in the game, it's not something that we've typically done on Call of Duty, for example.
Yeah, we don't like to brand in our content. We try to sell our content to advertisers, and if an advertiser wants custom opportunities, and that's a separate conversation we have, but we tend to like to sell our content as is.
Hi, Walter Dolph, I've got a question. One of the key missions of DDN is about trying to bring more people of color into the digital, now we're talking about gaming. My question, and this is not a regional-based question, but I think it's telling because of what happened yesterday, is how do you all feel about the largest social game company doing massive restructuring, 500 employees, shutting down New York and LA? How do you feel that impacts the industry in general?
I could speak to that. So for those that don't know, that would be Zynga. Had massive layoffs. I will say what's interesting is EA also had layoffs about a month ago that were pretty massive. So I think it's and then I recently heard a couple, of other competitors and people even in other industries are experiencing this. So I don't think this is necessarily just in the video game market. I think it's something that companies are doing to try to meet numbers. So I will come out with that first. Second, I will say that it gives people opportunity to know that there are, in digital, it's constantly changing. So I think that you need to stay up to date with what's going on for opportunities that are to come forward in the future.
I'd also say that gaming really, to your point, inspires a very entrepreneurial nature, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier with iPhone. I think those layoffs are an opportunity for those folks because there's so many possibilities for app development. And there's companies out there that, that's what gives the value to these phones, these mobile phones, these smartphone devices are the apps themselves. And so there's a huge opportunity in developing apps and getting that turned out because people are always looking for fresh content. The guys that play our games and the girls that play our game always want something new. They don't stick with it forever. So I think it's an opportunity for them to kind of jump out there and do something on their own.
Tons of content is really important in the Machinima network for sure. We say we binge view, our audience binge views. So if we put up a series, like 13 episodes, they'll watch it in a day or two. And then the next day you have to have fresh content. So it is an opportunity for those that have been laid off to actually develop a new app. Machinima had a layoff in December as well, and we're known as the fastest growing company. So
But I think it ebbs and
variables.
flows. It's going to come back.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And digital is just up and down all the time.
Of course.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Luce. I have a question because I consider myself as a woman a lost gamer for you guys. I'm someone like Guy who grew up on Atari, on Pac-Man, on Galaga, up to a certain point, and then I really felt that the games they made were not made for me anymore. My brother can play Madden NFL for 82,000 days straight, never come up for air, and I just don't. But we know that women play games. I worked for Lifetime for a while. We saw huge gaming numbers but they're not the same kind of games. In entertainment, we know that if we don't start early, that if we don't start seeding those directors and writers and things at a very young age, then there are these gaps so that even when they get to the age where they can be directors and writers, there's not people in place to bring them up, there's not people in place to mentor them, et cetera, so forth. What are you guys making now, or what are you concentrating on for women now, for the younger women, for the kind of games and the type of games they're making that may in fact seed the 15 years from now or 10 years from now when these people get out of college and they are true developers and gamers and things like that? Are there contests for girl gamers? How are you trying to bring up that lost audience?
So we have actually a kid, it's marketed and targeted to kids, a game called Skylanders. It's a game and a toy, and it's sort of revolutionized how you think about gaming in the children's market. But what's interesting about the game is that it's really a game that's targeted to women as well. And they've been extremely drawn to it because it brings a co-viewing and a co-collaboration experience with your child. The women end up having more fun than their children playing this game. So at least it gets, it's not necessarily like, taking an avatar and dressing it up in, like, you dress up your Barbie, so where it's so distinctively going after a woman, but it is something that females feel is more approachable and a little bit more casual and something they can do with their children. And then also for the younger kids, it's a lot of boys and girls play the game, so it kind of goes both ways in terms of getting the younger woman and the older woman, at least getting a controller in their hand. I think that more than anything, and this is why a lot of women have kind of shifted over to casual gaming, is because there aren't a lot of games that are made out there that require a console and a controller that women care about, and a lot of them are on the go and on the move. So it's finding that experience and that opportunity that's going to get you that critical mass against females on the console. That's a very difficult kind of mechanism to figure out. So we feel like we've made strides in that area with Skylanders. And people are just amazed at how fun it ends up being. And I mimic it and I compare it to like a Mario Brothers experience or something along those lines. I played that a lot when I was younger. I think it's very similar. So that's kind of, I think, our closest step to hitting on that.
There's also an organization, and it's not game specific, but it's called code.org. And it really kind of focuses on teaching underrepresented individuals and youth how to code, and they start off at a really basic level. And I think obviously you can take, once you learn how to code, you can take that down a few different paths. So that might be something to check out if that's a passion of yours.
Yeah, there's a community called Girls Tech, and they hold conferences once a month, and then they have a group of girls, and they teach them code and development of games and websites.
We have time for one more, or is it? The jury's still out?
Is there another question?
Okay. Well, thanks, everybody. Really appreciate the attention, and hopefully you enjoy it.